have budgets. Like I said, this was due at the end of last month. We do a, okay.
Then on our budget, for the discussion we just had, $1,900 off, some thing. We
Well, that's
don't use it, we don't need to pay the money.
We do have a correspondence from them,
Yep, they're going up.
so I'd like to know how they figured out our savings.
It doesn't matter at this point.
That was,
That's an easy $1,900 we can take straight out of that budget.
how, I mean, legal, I mean, granted, it's been a quiet year, but how do we do on that? Do we usually do pretty good on legal, or, I mean, like, what's our spent year on legal fees?
So far, I think we spent like $300.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very small amount, but that's not to say something can come up tomorrow that would spend the balance.
So roughly a third of our budget we generate as income. So we're coming, I mean, I don't see, just going through line items, salaries is pretty much a fixed, retirement's fixed. Dues and subscriptions, I mean, we've talked before about the townsmen and stuff like that. Tina, is that dues and subscriptions, is that just the townsmen?
The dues and subscriptions are Southern Maine Regional. The books and periodicals are Southern Maine, as the
Okay.
townsman.
So that's pretty low money anyways.
The telephone is Tom.
The dues and subscriptions are what? That's basically Southern Maine Region.
Yes,
That's 1,200 there.
which is now
19.
1972.
Do we have, is that a dues or is that a requested amount that they ask for?
I think that's what you pay, and it's based on your population. Is that,
I think it's how they do
is that right?
Okay.
Don't know.
It used to be based on population. It's also now based on the fact that the state has reduced some of the funding to the Regional Planning Commission.
If you dropped out of Southern Maine, do you have the option of coming back into Southern Maine in a year later, or do they say once you're out, you're done?
No,
That is a question I have.
the answer to that question is that you can remain a lifelong member, you can join for 1 year. It's based on an annual town meeting vote. So each year, Paul, the executive director, normally goes to each of the town meetings to defend why the Regional Planning Commission is a great asset to the community. So, I mean, you can join, stop, join. It's your prerogative as to your commitment to the Regional Planning Commission.
Do most towns belong?
I believe
Even
most
though
of
they
them
have
do
a
belong.
plan?
I believe most of them do, for a variety of different reasons. Coastal communities have different reasons for belonging than the inland communities. The inland communities, predominantly those that don't have a town planner, find their resources really quite helpful. Although, some of them are generalists, there's also some technicians there that have some skills that most planning departments don't have. They have a specialist in GIS. So their best usage is from communities that don't have any planning department or town planner. But I would offer to say that most communities do belong. In the past, I've used them as a resource for two types of pieces of information. One, map work. Because we don't have a large format copier, they're able to provide us with some free maps. Additionally, last year and the year prior, they were able to do some traffic counting for us because through the Department of Transportation, they have a goodly number of traffic counters and transportation planners there.
Do you think it's been worth the money for the past year, as an example? I know it's slow.
I would say yes.
Based on what?
Based on the fact that they have a diversified staff, and every time that I've asked them for a resource, they've been ready and available. Again, we don't have
I
the,
guess my mini question would be, do you have your own department? Do you have your own budget?
do I? No.
So why should we pay for it? Selectmen should pay for it.
Because you're using their resources, that's why you should pay for it. Because you just said 10 minutes ago that you wanted to have them do a review. You have to pay for
This is
that.
obviously a trend we're going away from, so, and you're telling me that your checklist is the equivalent of it, so I'm saying, why shouldn't the selectmen pay for this, and not the town, not the planning board?
You know, why should anyone pay for it?
I would pay for that, I'd say we drop it. Yeah, you're right.
No, I mean, if, what I'm getting from them, and at some point, maybe in the near future, we'll have a large format printer. So I'll be able to print virtually anything I need to print that's larger than 11 by 17 inches. Traffic counting, we have currently one traffic counter. The Economic Development Committee is putting in for another 3 traffic counters in their budget. In fact, it is in their budget, vis-a-vis the Road Review Committee. And so the town of Waterboro will have 4 traffic counters. More than would probably, there's probably more than most communities own as a municipality. So we have to think about what other functions the RPC can provide. In the past, they used to be a vehicle for certain transportation funds. In our case, any transportation monies that the town of Waterboro needed in order for us to be competitive, I was the one that was the point of contact with the DOT, and I was the one that sought out the grant. I feel more comfortable with that if we're going for a specific grant. The RPC has to manage, I don't know, 40 plus communities, and it becomes very difficult, I think, to prepare grants that are all equal but competitive at the same time. So there's a certain advantage for us to do that in-house, as long as we have the capacity to do it in-house.
How much does a traffic counter cost?
Well, they range between $800 to $2,000, depending on the software package that comes with it and what it in fact measures. In the case of
I take it we've
buying
had trouble
3,
getting them from other sources.
yeah, in the case of buying 3, and I'm doing this from memory, that they're able to save and buy 3 for about $800 a piece, versus if you bought the same type individually, it'd be about $1,200. So some of the functions that were done by the RPC now will in fact become in-house in municipality functions. So we have to, I think, weigh those factors. Is the investment of $1,100, what do we net from that? Again, I use them as a resource for what I've told you. I don't consult with them for planning answers.
So if we weren't members and we asked them something, would they charge us their hourly rate?
Correct. Yeah. So if you
Which
want,
is $90 an hour.
Yep.
It's cheaper than an engineering firm.
Yep,
And how many hours do you get in
they get 10 free.
and you do have that opportunity to contract with them on an hourly or a project basis. My feeling about contracting out or outsourcing is that you always want to outsource to the specialist. For example, Patty and I are instructional engineers. I have a civil engineering background, but I'm not a PE. So you'd still want to have a professional engineer look at a set of plans that dealt with civil. There's no one that I know that's in this town hall that's an electrical or mechanical engineer. All these factors, you outsource to. If you were looking at,
But hopefully you can get someone else to pay for that.
Right, and if,
other than the town.
In most cases, it becomes the applicant that pays for it. So if you're outsourcing to have a project reviewed by a third party, whether it be the Regional Planning Commission, an architect, there'll be certain cases that we're coming in after we do our energy audits, where we're going to need, I think, an architect or a structural engineer or mechanical engineer to evaluate certain things. Because, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I think that I mean, you've pretty much said it on there. If we put it into our budget, we've assumed it as part of our overhead. If we contract with them on an
Let
hourly,
them pay for it.
it's 100% transferred over to
To
the
whoever
applicant.
the applicant
I mean, you want to
No,
look
but we
at how
still
you...
could have something reviewed, and make the applicant pay
The
for it.
applicant pays for it, he doesn't know
is.
anyway.
He does not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But I
it's-
mean, right
Right.
now, they don't pay for the Southern Maine?
Yes,
Do they do?
sure.
Yeah, if we send it to Southern Maine.
Oh, because that only includes 10 hours on,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, I think
Which
they
I
give,
don't know.
what is it, 10 or 12 free hours? They
Yeah,
give a
but we're not
minimum
getting
number of
it.
free hours by virtue of the membership, which looks like, looking at this number, that kind of just flushes out. You know, there's good people over there. The role of a regional planning commission is just that, regionalization. Our role as local planners, yourselves and myself, is to take a look at these plans from an internal context. I provide to you the site plan review. I go through the checklist, and I feel that's the way that works effectively. Narratives are just more words. I certainly can write, and I certainly can write very lengthy, multiple pages of review if you wish. I'm not sure what it accomplishes in terms of efficiency. I think the key thing is that we go through it point by point and don't miss anything. The other function that a regional planning commission has traditionally had in the past, and again, it can be a contracted out resource, is that they can assist and help with subdivision, zoning, site plan review, ordinances. All of our ordinances are outdated. In some cases, they're grammatically incorrect or numerically incorrect, and there's a lot to be done with them. That's yet another major project that needs to be done as soon as possible.
Tom?
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. That, where it says that we saved $6,924 through this program, do you know what was bought that saved that money?
I don't. I think that in fairness to the Regional Planning Commission, they would have to defend and justify what that is. I
I'm
don't.
just wondering if they use a number saying, you know, we reviewed 3 drawings for you, or 3 projects. And
No, this is the cooperative purchasing program. It says,
Oh.
around the cooperative purchasing program for the region.
Okay, what that means is that the Regional Planning Commission has taken on the task, and it has for multiple years, of getting municipalities together, for example, to buy salt. And if you...
Right, that's what I was getting at. What did we buy? Did we buy something? I don't know anything.
I don't know if it was salt or paper. It had to be one of the two. It was a paper product or it was salt. And I think it may be salt, but I'm only guessing at that, Tina, because when
Well,
you
what
buy
I'm trying
salt in bulk, there's a net savings to the community.
Well,
And-
what I'm getting at is if the board decides that they don't want to belong to the Regional Planning Commission anymore, are we then losing
$7,000.
$7,000 because we've been
Cut off
saving
our
on
noses, spite our
salt?
face.
Just because we didn't know that, we don't know what the $6,924 is that we're saving.
It's all fee of cost, so.
I know that when certain planning books come out, they send an email saying this is available, and because we bought X amount of them, you can get them from us for whatever, and there's no shipping or handling, whatever.
Well, see,
So-
Frank said it's not salt, so it's got to be something else. I
That's what I'm
don't
getting
know.
at.
When you call tomorrow, find out.
Okay. What I'm getting at is, I don't know if we should just say, no, we don't want
It's
to
not
do
just
it
saving
because,
$1,000.
Yeah.
because we don't see what the benefit is of it, doesn't mean there isn't one.
Personally, it's
They have 4 members of the planning board sitting here after a year and not know what the benefit is
That's
of
what
the
I'm
regional
getting
planning.
at.
We probably got to give them a phone call and say, well, what do we get for this $1,900?
well,
Where did you come up with that $6,900 figure?
$6,924. Yeah, that's why I asked him, does he know what it's?
No.
Kurt,
Yes.
The solution to this problem, or the remedy to getting the clarification, is that you should invite Paul to one of your meetings. Paul is the executive director of the Regional Planning Commission, and in fairness to the RPC, they should be given their time before you to justify what they can do, and so you can translate that. Is that something we can do internally? Is that something that we better benefit from having them do?
When's this due back to the selectmen for their?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow? So like we did last year, we have no time, we have no meeting with the budget committee, we have no meeting with the selectmen, and we're down to the last act, not knowing what the hell we're talking about.
Well, my recommendation is keep it in there, okay? It's a small amount of money, and I think in fairness to you and in fairness to the RPC, Paul needs his time before you. But I would suggest every year you invite the executive director and say, hey, what the heck is this $6,800? What is that net savings? Is it real, or is it part of some formula?
The other question I got an issue of, they said they're requesting a 3% increase in town dues.
Because the state's taking money away from it.
So we're paying $1,181 now.
That's figures wrong.
Yeah.
Right, so that's only $1,216, so where's the other $700 they're asking for?
Yeah, but we're not paying 1,181
We
now.
paid 18 really, that was the
18
figure
something.
for the last year.
Okay, then my bad, I'm sorry. The numbers didn't add up.
No, they don't.
They were asking for like a 70% increase. I have a question on the second page. We have $500 for advertising.
Mhm.
I'm wondering why are we advertising and what's that money for?
Isn't that posted?
If there's a public hearing, like we had a conditional use hearing, public hearing, those people pay a set fee. Wellhead paid $100, JD's paid $100. That $100 does not cover the advertising, the notices, all those
Town
things.
ends up footing the bill for that, they should,
So the town-
change until those people foot the bill for all that stuff.
Yeah, why isn't it at cost?
Yeah.
Because that's not how the ordinance is written. I would love to send them a bill for what it actually costs, but $100 is all that they need to pay.
All right, so there's a second thing we gotta put on.
Hmm.
That's another thing we gotta put
Sure.
on. Can that be changed? Can that be changed by a selectmen's vote, or does that have to be, like you change something like that, does that have to go to?
The most efficient way of doing it is that the recommendation come from the planning board and then ship it immediately to the selectmen. The selectmen will hold a public hearing. They'll probably send it back to you, ask you to do a public hearing instead of a concurrent hearing. And then both your board and their board vote.
Okay.
But it needs to go through a public hearing process. It's time to overhaul some of those fees. It's time to be fair to Tina's office. At a minimum, it should be clearly a wash. In some cases, some municipalities not only wash the actual cost, but also the time commitment on the part of the employee. And I think we've come to that point. It makes sense. It's not like we'd be the first municipality to do that. It's just a fair thing to do. And most applicants recognize that that's the cost of doing business. It's not a cost that the municipality should be absorbing.
Right. The other argument is, if the applicant didn't come in, the town would still be paying that employee. So that's the other side of the argument,
The town would still be what?
paying you. You know what I mean? If there was
That would be
no,
doing something else, that wouldn't be
We're not
sending
asking them to pay her
notices to
salary.
butters and.
well, you could ask for a portion of her
It's-
salary, for time.
It's just like if it takes Tina an hour.
I'm just saying on the other side
Whatever
of
her, that hour is valued at. So,
It's
again, it's
it.
not.
Lost production versus no production.
Yeah. And then it could be further argued, well, then that's just a bookkeeping nightmare. You gotta keep track of all.
You'd have to come up with the standard rate, you have to come up with,
It's easier that way.
yeah.
That's
Say-
why the zoning board of appeals, we did some research and we found that $330 is what the average appeal cost,
That makes
from 100.
Makes a lot more sense. Okay, so we have the budget. Last year's budget was $29,381. Roughly a third of that is recouped in revenue. So,
For-
huh?
I think, I stepped out with Tina for a bit there. What did you do with training?
We skipped it. We didn't, I don't think we touched training.
My suggestion to the board is that you put some money in there so that as there's a desire to learn specific skill sets that could be valuable to a plan review or a board review, you have the opportunity to attend a seminar or a conference. There are a couple of freebies that are out there, but those tend to be so generalistic that you generally go in knowing more than you come out with. So, but there are some very specific ones that could be very beneficial. All planning boards always put some sort of money into training. I'd highly encourage you all come from different disciplines, and it would be really valuable to have something in. If you choose not to use it, then there may be an opportunity for a Tina or a Patty to attend something that would be valuable in their work. So you
What do you, I mean, $250 would,
how many members do you currently have?
well, it should be
Just have
7.
7.
7? I'd say no less than $700. I mean, it's very fair to have $100 per person in there. And then reassess it halfway into the season. If it turns out that some board members are not planning to take something, then have Tina or Patty, particularly Tina, because Patty has had, she's taking a lot of important courses in her certifications, and it's always refreshing. And I'm sure Tina wouldn't oppose that if you had an opportunity
I
to.
saw a class in Honolulu.
Yeah, always nice this time of year. But I really encourage you to put something in there. And if you find out at the end of next year that you haven't spent the $700 or however much you put in there, then you can reduce it back to 0 or something else. But you don't want to deny yourself the opportunity if something comes up. And in most cases, they are very cost efficient, and in most cases, they'll be offered here in northern New England. So it's not a huge issue.
If you put $700 in, that would change our budget to $30,081 requested for
But
this.
put the right amount in for.
Yeah, you're right.
Can you adjust
Another
this?
700 or more than that.
Do the selectmen still need to sign off on this?
Yes. What the process will be is once you decide on what you want your budget to do, it'll go to the town administrator. She's in the process now of packaging all these for the Board of Selectmen. The last that I heard from the town administrator is that she wants to get a complete package in the Board of Selectmen's hands, totally done by the 13th. So she definitely needs your submittal tomorrow.
Right, if you put this Southern Maine's correct price in, and the $700 for training, that brings our budget request to $30,871.
So you're changing that to 1972 and then training to 700,
Yes,
and makes the total,
30,871. 872, I'm sorry. Is that agreeable with the board? Is that, what's your guys' thoughts, flavors?
If you don't mind, Kurt, there's one other thing. In your crystal ball, do you, in this next coming year, other than your typical reviews, do you envision any type of special study or work or something that you'd hire a consultant out to do that we can't do internally?
We get $750 for consultants.
What that'll buy you is part of a day with a good consultant
Yeah.
in most disciplines. And, consultants' hourly rates average on a low of 75 to a high of about $1,000 a day. So it doesn't go far. I'm not sure what $750 would buy you, but I guess the bigger question is, do you envision in this year that you'd be doing any type of special study or would like to invite in a special speaker? Here's an example. I think it was the town of Hamden which is a small town, but very progressive, particularly in terms of economic development, they decided to invite in a speaker who used to work at the Regional Planning Commission back in the late 70s. His name was Randall Arendt. Some of you may remember him. Randall, it was actually Randall and myself that were the sort of the rebels of cluster zoning, and we were advocating cluster in every single town that we could promote it in. And Randall went off to be a private consultant, and what he does is he does a whole speaking circuit. The town of Hamden hired him for 4 hours to go over and to speak about conservation zoning and conservation planning. I don't know what the fee was, but I would guess that it's more than $750, and that's for a 4-hour speaking engagement. But by a true, well-seasoned planning professional. So, and I'm not encouraging you to spend more money, but if you do have something that you'd like to see get done in this next year that we can't do in-house, then you might want to beef that up a bit, because it won't go very far.
Do we have our spent or our projected annual spending? I mean, are we spending close to the budget, or are we?
I haven't really looked at it.
Okay.
I can,
I mean, I guess that's one question I've got too, is where are we, you know, are we over budget, are we under budget? You know,
I think, obviously, the salaries and all of that is pretty much in tune. Supplies, I don't think we've spent a whole lot. The thing we haven't spent is either legal or consultants. We still have money left on that. Advertising,
but we're probably over on advertising.
by now, yeah.
Here's an example. In the absence of a conservation commission, what type of conservation planning does the town want to do? It's something that's going to have to be addressed as we get into midstream of the comprehensive plan.
But why would that come out of their budget instead of our budget?
The comprehensive plan, it certainly could, but there may be questions that, from a consultant, that it may want to be driven. Do you want to drive that, the conservation planning, so that it becomes an initiative that comes forward to 2020? The 2020 Planning Committee has its hands full, and of course it's just in its beginning stages, and that plan will take several years to complete. But there are certain things that can be initiated from this board. It's not like that committee has to do it all. But if there are some high priorities that you see must get done, for example, performance bonding. There's 2 ways you can do that. You have your meeting with the Board of Selectmen, and then you come up with a methodology as to how, quite simply, this can be done. If everybody agrees, that's fine. Sometimes you need a third party or a neutral party to come in and to actually write you an ordinance and say, this is how it's done in 20 other communities. This is what we'd recommend for language, given these economic times, and what will best protect the town. And have that neutral third party present to the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board. That's one way that you could spend that money. The other way you could say is, Tom, just go do it.
Plus the other thing is too, we got Southern Maine, like, you know, if we do stay with them.
Yes, you could ask them to take on that assignment and say, look, you guys handle 40-plus communities. We would like to have a profile from you of how those communities, who has performance bonds, what do they charge, and what does the ordinance look like, and prepare a model ordinance for us. And that would be a function that the Regional Planning Commission could do probably better than I, because they have the resources and access to all those communities, because they write some of their ordinances. So that may already be in their data bank. So in that case, it becomes more time efficient and more cost efficient to have them do that type of assignment. So, you know, that could be a function of out of your membership with them, if you do it early in the year. If it's at the end of the year, then it may be a
check.
They may ask you, we'll do it, but for this contract price.
Okay. So I mean, that's what we got for budget. what's your guys' thoughts on it? Do we make those changes, up Southern Maine's,
Yeah.
put a training fee in, and so we request $30,872.
Go for it.
All right, I have
That's a
a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor? Frank?
Against it.
Opposed? Okay. Any reason for opposing?
I stated that a while ago. We need Southern Maine Regional Plan.
Okay. All right, budget. Comments from town planner.
Okay, I have two things for you. At Frank's request, he wanted to have a little memo attached to this information I'm giving you on the capital improvement plan. The town administrator, board of selectmen have designated me to be the facilitator of packaging the CIP plan. And so what I'm giving you is a summary of the projects with a little bit of narrative, as Frank has requested, about what this is that I'm giving you. And one of Frank's reasons for doing that was so that we could document some of these things. Although it's a function that I do per the charter and per the Board of Selectmen, it's important that I share this with the planning board. Now, what you have before you are 25 projects that have been submitted by 5 departments and 1 committee, the Road Review Committee. This summary chart...
This is the same review the selectmen just got to.
Right.
Yes, yeah. Now, the only difference that the selectmen have and the department heads and any board members are welcome. If you want the estimates and the quotations for each of those projects, this book here is the consolidation of that research and work. And so what I generally present to the selectmen and the town administrator is the compilation of all of those projects, in this case 25 projects, with appropriate up-to-date estimates and quotations for what it costs to do each one of those things. In some cases, it involves architectural drawings. In some cases, it involves quotations. In some cases, it involves estimates. And the purpose for this is twofold. One, it fulfills the requirements of the town charter. And secondly, it's the planning word. It does long-term investment planning for the community, as seen through the eyes predominantly of our department heads. And one project in here as requested by an update by the Board of Selectmen, that being the multi-functions salt shed.
What was the decision last night, Tom, with the vehicles, with the 2 trucks? Or 1 truck versus 2 trucks?
The Board of Selectmen did not make a decision. They took it under further advisement, so it's still a pending matter. They had the fire chief and Fred do a presentation as to the pros and cons of having one truck to perform all functions.
Okay.
I thought we were gonna have one of those message center things last year. What happened to that?
The answer to that question is the message board that was proposed originally was slightly underestimated in terms of cost, thus it couldn't get built. It's been reanalyzed, and there are a couple of different new cost variables that affect the
How much
cost.
money did we raise for that?
Last year?
Yeah, 6,000?
I think it was 5.
5?
Five or
So
6,000.
is that money still there?
I don't know the answer to that.
It is.
Or has it been spent on something else?
David says that it still remains in kitty.
So that would be half of this.
Yes. When all is said and done and built.
Now, is this large, the scanner and printer, is that what you were talking about to do the maps? Okay.
Now, what I'd like to see, hopefully, in the future, is that I'd like to see a 26th project next year, anything that the planning board can contemplate.
Besides GIS?
GIS and anything that would be an asset that has a value more than $5,000. In a capital improvement plan or a capital investment plan, it's only projects, facilities, studies that are over $5,000. Anything else below that would fall into an operating budget.
There's nothing, like our computer system and stuff like that, that's all, no major improvements needed on that, no new servers or anything like that?
We just refreshed this year, so that's on a 4-year lease,
Okay.
so that's all that.
Do we have, will GIS run on what we've got, or?
We don't have the personnel to support it, so.
I mean, if you did a CIP to have it set up,
We've done that, we did that, 8 years ago, we spent $7,000, for which we ended up with nothing. You need to support GIS, and we don't have the in-house support for GIS.
okay.
Again, and I encourage all of you to stop by the office more often. There is the full report. I brought along one. Because of the cost of putting this together, I have this one extra copy that I can loan out. If any of you would like to delve into more of the details of any of these projects, you're welcome to stop by the office and pick that up, or take it this evening.
Okay.
Tom,
Yeah.
just a comment. I look at this thing and I think, this really isn't very forward-thinking. All of the monies are in next year's line. The library is the only one that has anything for the next 5 years.
Tina's question is absolutely brilliant. I'm glad that you
Nobody's
brought
doing
that up.
anything but what they want right now.
Well, there's 2 reasons for that. There's probably more, but there's 2 that I can share with you tonight. The first reason is, for the last 3 years that I've been working on this, some of the projects that were forecasted out into year 3 and 4 that didn't get funded have now progressed back into this current year. So, for example, 3 years ago, there were projects that were forecasted out for this year or for 2 years back, and they never got funded, and so they've drifted forward. So that's one reason. The other reason is that some of the department heads have become a little bit gun-shy about forecasting out for 5 years. For 2 reasons. One, because certain projects didn't get funded, and secondly, it's difficult to estimate out, in some cases, costs into year 5. For example, a pavement of a 3-mile road, okay? Literally impossible to forecast out the hard costs. And so some people have shied away from that. So those are 2 reasons that I can share tonight.
Well, I guess when I look at it, I think, well, they only know what they want now, they don't know what they want next.
Yeah, again, it's a lot of those projects are brought forward. If you count them up, 20 of the 25 have shifted into this fiscal year because they move forward. Okay, any other questions on CIP? Because I got one other thing. No. The other thing that I want to share with you, and before you open it up, let me just set a little bit of context to it. The 2020 Planning Committee has really taken a strong initiative to follow the advice that's come from this board, the Board of Selectmen, to try to get the message out to the public that we want to hear what you consider valuable in this community. What are some of the town's assets, and what's your vision for the town? And so we decided, instead of having one big visioning meeting, to break it into a couple different clusters. The first cluster was with a cluster of 45 of what we would consider our elders and senior citizens in town. And they gave us some great input. The second one I did with the principal over at the middle school. And what you have before you is the response of 84 juniors and seniors at the middle school. And, at the high school, rather. And one of the outstanding things that results from this is that some of these students that are going to stay here are going to be your future leaders, those that choose to remain in town. And so I would look at these very carefully. Some you'll find very humorous. Some you'll find that there's some philosophical depth to it. And also remember that this is the population cohort that's going to replace us. And if you see out of those 84, which represents a certain cohort, that there's a leaning towards medium and big box stores because that age group has currently become dependent on them and likes them, you'll be seeing those types of trends in the community. So what they say has great value. And some people will find some of the comments, again, very humorous. But the beauty that I found in this is that everything was very candid. And they spoke from their heart, and they spoke from their mind, and they didn't have to worry about politics. Okay, they said what they said. And I wanted to share this with you. It's one of those things, and Tina, here's a copy for you. It's one of those things that that deserves a big bag of popcorn and whatever your preferred spirit is. It's really entertaining, and if you read between some of the lines, pretty provocative too. So I wanted to share that with you. Additionally, I wanted to share that this Friday night at the middle school, in the cafeteria, between 6 and 9 o'clock this Friday evening, we'll be doing another general visioning session. And so you're certainly invited. We'd encourage you to attend and to offer up some of your insights. How we generally structure it is we do some introductions, and then we'll have maybe up to a half a dozen questions that we'll pose to the attendees. And then we'll capture that information and do another report back like this in writing. Ultimately, after everyone is satisfied with enough visioning sessions, which I would conclude probably be next spring or early summer, we're going to pull all these together, see what type of consensus and commonality exists in all of these comments. Hopefully with the proper financial support, we'll go out for an RFP. There will be a consultant that's hired. We also will be involving hopefully some graduate students in landscape architecture that'll be involved with design guidelines and some very spirited charrette work that deals with graphics. And then additionally, we'll be doing a chapter on energy. We'll probably be one of the first in the state. We're doing that for tactical and strategic reasons. Very few comprehensive plans, if any, exist that take a chapter and speak to energy infrastructure. And one of the baseline reasons for doing that is that it will hopefully assist us and give us leverage with Department of Energy grants in the future, of which the largest holding of federal grants that will be filtered into the state, according to my research, will be in infrastructure and energy. And so I'm paying particularly close attention to that and trying to build in leverage devices into our action plans that will be components of each chapter. So as we get closer to that, I'm going to be needing your input. And the 2020 committee is going to come and meet with you and share their ideas. And in the interim, I'll be sharing these feedbacks from these visioning sessions. And again, you're more than welcome to be there. We hope that some of you or all of you will be there on this Friday night. Okay. So take the time to read it, and I think you'll be really entertained. It's good to have some lighthearted stuff that.
I like some of the likes and the dislikes are the same.
Exactly.
Okay. I do have what.
First of all, any questions on that or the 2020 committee? Frank has been the one who's asked the most questions so far about it, and We've taken your comments, Frank, to heart, and we're trying to continue to improve our communication systems, just like all committees and boards, so that we can get the message out.
Thanks, Tom. We presented to the Board of Selectmen last night. The only feedback to us is they had asked about a clarification about notification to abutters. This deals with I forget the name of it, the subdivision up on Route 5 that was a senior, and Riverbend, and the applicants asked to switch from aged housing to non-aged housing, and our policy for notification to abutters. I guess in that case, we did not notify abutters. So
Because it's just a revision to the subdivision.
So that was, they asked, that was Dave Woodson, I think,
Mhm.
asked for that. So that's something just to put on our agenda. as a-
Well, the ordinance would have to be changed if that's what he wants to do.
Nope, that solves that. I think we do need to get onto our agendas, just get back onto reviews of our ordinance and go through that. There's obviously some things, especially performance bonds, because we're gonna have another one coming up to us. It's gonna be a lot more involved. Is that one?
I thought of this while he was, is there some way that in the road maintenance agreement, that there could be something put in there that makes them responsible for the final product of the road if the developer does, I mean, not to hand over the cost to them, but that the developer is obligated to them and not to the town?
It's a legal mechanism that's been used in the past. It's called a no-fault agreement. It needs to be very cleverly worded by a very clever attorney. Because, some people used to refer to it as a hold harmless clause or a hold harmless agreement. The legal construct of that is really complicated. So my advice is that if you pursue that route, that you want to create a mechanism that you can apply to all subdivisions so that the town is held harmless, then
The people who are in the road maintenance agreement
yeah, you could
have a
build in some
commitment
language in
from
that.
the developer that the road is done and not hold the town
Plus,
responsible.
it can also be put into individual deed restrictions.
I thought those hold harmlesses were found to be non-legally binding. It's like on your ski ticket, it says you won't hold a mountain liable for injury, but you can't give up something you don't know you have.
That's why I stress the word clever.
Yeah.
They have to be really constructed so that they're bulletproof. Sometimes the easier vehicle, and I'm only basing this on what I've seen other attorneys do in other communities. Some attorneys recommend that there's specific deed restrictions that meet the approval of you and the town council regarding that the road is left in perpetuity as a private road until such time it meets all current specifications for road building.
That's true too.
Because what happens is, your specifications may indeed change 5 years from now, lesser or more. And so it's important to put that kind of wording into the language. And again, it requires, I think, you want to have a clever attorney write it. One of the things that's happened in the past, and we've all felt victim of it, municipalities particularly, is that it's the copying of other municipalities' ordinances. You may be copying a nightmare. It's better to have legal counsel look at these things, particularly anything that involves money. My recommendation is, and it'll always be the same, get town council's approval of this stamp of approval.
Plus they have to defend it, so they might as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
We always do that.
Almost always. What might be helpful, if I can offer, seeing we're really starting to do some long-range planning here, is that the board, over the next couple months, particularly these winter months, make a housekeeping list of things that you want to get taken care of before town meeting. If there are certain things that are going to require a town meeting vote, that you put that on housekeeping list so we can remedy them.
Is that something like a performance bond? The selectmen can just do that.
I believe they can. I'm quite honestly a little bit confused about what the process is. It seems to always get stuck somewhere. And so I think the remedy to it is to form a methodology for performance bonds, clean up the existing portion of the ordinance that obviously is undernourished. If you're going to have a performance bond, you typically want to have it at least 100% of current cost plus escalators. And how the escalators get changed is that whoever's the monitor, you need a monitor or someone that keeps a log. In your next real estate cycle, let's say you have 10 subdivisions and they're all under performance bonds and they're all coming due at different times, you need someone that's going to monitor that. And it's not that hard. It's just keeping a log with timelines, and in that timeline, 60 days, the red flag comes up and it says, hello, it's time to get this back to the planning board and to alert the applicant. Traditionally, it's a municipal employee that's handling that function. And so that would be a decision by this board and the board of selectmen as to who the appropriate person would be.
Okay. All right, that concludes our agenda. Is there anything else from the board? Okay. Hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Motion is a second. All those in favor? Opposed? All right.